If you dream of owning a seven-figure practice, I am here to help. In fact, I'm going to share with you the exact roadmap to that seven-figure practice, and I'm even going to show you some case studies of some of our higher-end clients who are now building seven and even eight-figure brands. So before I share with you these case studies of these incredibly successful doctors who have used this proven driven framework, let me just explain what the driven framework is. D stands for data. You've got to have your data to engage data-driven decisions. R stands for results. You're going to get results and you have responsible team members to drive those results. I stands for ignite, to ignite your success and understanding your prime mover. V is value of a new patient, and your team is very aware of your ideal new patients that you're bringing into the practice. E is for effective team meetings, meaning we have a cadence of accountability and we're using data as a team to strategize your success. E also stands for eager, and it's the science, it's the methodology for helping patients be eager to show up for their appointments. And N is never be blind to your data again by engaging in the Profit Accelerator system. So case study number one, I want to talk about Dr. Abraham. This man was a giant. He was fresh out of school, hungry, driven as anybody I've ever met. But he didn't have structure. He didn't understand how to make data-driven decisions yet. He didn't understand what an org chart was, and he had big dreams of scaling multiple locations. Luckily, because he's a driven doc, he immediately adopted the driven framework the second he heard it. He didn't want to be drifting. He didn't want to be out there trying to figure out how to scale a business. He wanted a proven model that scaled the business for him. And by adopting these pieces of the driven framework, he immediately began to gain traction. His collections began to scale. His value of his patient became clear. He attracted his ideal new patients by understanding niche marketing. And before you knew it, he was collecting $300K a month. This is what driven docs do. He is now scaling multiple locations. And this just doesn't happen by accident. This is what a driven doc does, who adopts the driven framework and applies it tenaciously by implementing today, not tomorrow, not waiting until there's time. He made it priority, and it is now paying off. Do you want results like Dr. Abraham? Then I just want you to comment below which letter of the driven framework is the most fascinating to you. Which one do you think that if you applied would create the biggest results in your practice? So just type in the comments the piece of the driven framework that catches your eye, and let's start the conversation. Now I want to move on to results, because that's what we're here to get you, is results. And working with Dr. Jeremy, he had been out of school for about 5 years. He had built a successful practice, but again, kept getting stuck. These barriers that show up in different levels of scaling your practice. And as we began to break down and look at why wasn't his team getting the results that he needed in order for the practice to continue to grow? Because that's what this community is about, not pointing fingers of blame, but researching with the team members, identifying where those roadblocks are, and creating a beautiful strategy to break through those barriers. As we looked at his beautiful dashboard, we identified his biggest barrier was his new patient show rate. They were getting a lot of leads, they just weren't showing up in the practice, leaving big holes in the schedule. And if you recognize how valuable your time is as a practice, that if you block off these times that patients don't show up, those are big gaping holes of non-productivity. Those are hours wasted that you could have changed a patient's lives, that could have entered into your care plans. And so Dr. Jeremy began to go to work with his team to strategize and analyze, why aren't patients showing up in higher volumes? What could we do in communicating with these patients to create results for them showing up in the practice? And within 4 short weeks of applying the exact strategy that his team came up with, we saw results. A 50% kept appointment rate skyrocketed to 75% kept appointment rate. And what that translates into not only this month's revenues, but future revenues is in the millions. Now make sure you hang in here till the end, guys, because I'm gonna give you my data-driven new patient system for free. And I can't wait to share with you this next case study of Dr. Kendra, who had been building a team and scaling a practice and even integrated with multiple providers. But the problem was they weren't growing their profits. And it really came down to their team culture. And so the E, effective team meetings, We gave her the framework around data-driven decisions where the team came to report their KPI, the data that they were responsible for in the patient experience. And when the team came with that data and began to bring also the strategy behind either why it was so successful or what needed to be improved, the team joined into a conversation where it was kind of exciting because gamification came into play. The team culture improved. They all unified behind the data-driven decision and the strategy that they all voted on and approved. Pretty soon these effective team meetings showed up in the data by their data skyrocketing. Profits grew, collections grew, conversion rates grew because team members were engaged and they showed up ready to do their part. Because that's what effective team meetings will do for you. And if you want to know the exact framework of how to run these effective team meetings, you've got to engage in our Profit Accelerator system. It is an 8-week system that you go through and learn exactly how to implement, transform your practice, transform your culture, how to build a team around data-driven decisions, and empower them to automate the growth of your practice. So if you're ready to take that next step into our Profit Accelerator system, where we will show you exactly how to implement this framework into your practice and begin your growth automation, just click the link below to book your free discovery call.